I'm Miss Amy, an instructor at Museo Art Academy, where we teach lots of different kinds of interactive art classes for kids and teens, both online and in our studio in Issaquah, Washington. At Museo, it's our goal to cultivate creative confidence and individual expression in each of our students, so every lesson in every class includes the necessary building blocks to achieve this in fun and engaging ways. So let's go ahead and get started. You will need a pencil, eraser, and paper. If you don't have those right now, you can pause the video and go ahead and grab those and come on back. So we are going to talk about shape mapping. Shape mapping helps us draw what we see more accurately or more like real life. We can find shapes in everything that we see, including this house. So looking a little bit closer, you can see rectangles in the garage, in the entryway. You can see triangles to create the rooftops, and you can see circles in the shrubs in their garden out front. So breaking it down into simpler shapes helps us make that house a little more manageable to draw. More common shapes you might find are squares, circles, ovals, rectangles, trapezoids, even crescent moon shapes, things like that. Now, what shapes do you see in this example? And keep in mind, they won't be perfect, but we're going to try and see what fits best. So in the body of the birdhouse, you can see we have a rectangle. In the rooftop, you can see a triangle shape. In the apple, we can also find an oval. And in the opening of the birdhouse, you can see almost a perfect circle. Looking at another example, what shapes do you see here? So looking at the teapot, we can find a large oval shape for the body. And then for the spout, you can see a trapezoid and a very small triangle. And over at the pepper, you can see a large oval shape. What shapes do you see in this example? Looking a little bit closer, we can see a circle at the bottom of the vase, as well as a trapezoid on top, an oval for our apple, and a couple of circles to create the pear. So we are going to take our shape mapping understanding and draw this cat. So let's look a little bit closer before we get started. We're going to start with the biggest shapes of the cat. So looking a little bit closer at the face shape of the cat, we can see an oval. And then at the ears, they look a little bit like triangles. So that's where we're going to start on a full sheet of drafting paper. So there's a little simpler view of it. We're going to go ahead and start looking at my document cam down here. To begin the drawing, I always start by remembering to draw lightly, and that is what we call whisper lines. So I'm going to draw a little bit darker than I normally would, but you should draw so lightly that you're barely touching the paper. And we do that so that it's easier to erase, because a lot of these shapes we will erase at the very end. So to start off with, it's kind of difficult to sometimes draw a perfect oval. So filling up this whole section, I'm going to start by drawing a letter D. And I also want to keep in mind to keep a good amount of space here at the top, because we do have to leave room for the ears. So in the middle, drawing a nice line down, my letter D on one side, and I'm going to do another letter D on the other side. You can kind of round it off and erase anything on the inside that you do not need anymore. So getting that nice solid edge of my oval. And then we want to make sure to add in our ears at the very top. So I'll start with my triangle shapes. When I'm starting that shape, before I make the height of it, I want to measure it with my little pincher fingers and say, I think that the triangle should be about half as tall as the oval. So visualizing that, I'm going to make the ears go up pretty tall, kind of like that, and then try to do a similar one on the opposite side, trying to capture the same shape on both sides. So let's take a look at what we've got next. Looking a little bit closer at the cat. Now we're going to start to build some of the smaller shapes and do some more shape mapping on a detail level. So you can see, looking a little bit closer at our eyes, we have some almost perfect circles, but they're a little bit oval shaped. And then we have a triangle for the nose, a couple ovals around the mouth, and one final circle underneath. So let's go ahead and add those in next. So going towards those smaller shapes, I'll start with the nose. That's kind of the central object on the face. It looks like it's a little bit below halfway down the face. So I'm going to start right here, try and draw just a nice neat triangle in the middle. And then we'll add in the ovals next to them. It looks like those ovals are touching the circle or the triangle. Go ahead and add that in on each side. Trying to make them as similar as possible to each other, and a circle that also touches my ovals on top. Then I'll also have to add in the eyes. The eyes, when I measure it with my fingers again, are pretty close to the nose. So you want to try and make them as similar as possible in about the same spot, on the same level on the cat's face. So if you need to erase anything, that's totally fine. It's a little bit difficult to make sure they're the same shape and that they're in the same spot. So now we've got some of the smaller shapes mapped out on our page. And let's go forward and see how we can add some more details in. So let's look a little bit closer. Now we can notice that the cat has a little bit different shapes in the details of its face than what we've already drawn. So we'll start to kind of change those a little bit. Looking at our ears, they're not perfect triangles, so we want to soften those out, draw a nice smooth line around the edges. The eyes, again, are also not perfect ovals. We can see that they're pointed a little bit on the tips to make it more into a diamond shape. Our nose is going to shrink a little bit, and our cat's mouth has to be adjusted slightly as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we do that. For the ears, you can just start by making a little kind of curve at the top, and then I'll go ahead and just kind of follow the line that I already have. I'm not really trying to make a new line necessarily. I'm just following my old one as a guide and smoothing that down into the cat's face. Now that I've got my shapes right for my ears, I can kind of erase what I've got on the inside. That was just there as a guide to help me build my ears, that they're the right height and the right shape, and to make sure that they are equal in size. So do a good job of erasing some of your lines. This should be pretty simple if you have nice light whisper lines to make sure that those ears show up nice and strong now. Then we can look forward at the eyes. Again, I'm following the same shape I started with. All I'm doing is adding a little bit of a corner on the lower part of the eye, and maybe a little bit at the top corner. So now I've got more of a diamond shape. I'm gonna do the same thing over here, drawing a straight line down, going around the bottom, around the top, so that I've got that figured out, erasing the inside lines. We no longer need that oval shape. And then going down to get to the nose, we're going to change that and round off some of the corners a bit. Squeeze it in a little bit on the bottom to get that cat shape on our nose. And for the mouth, we don't really have to change too much. We just have to make sure that we emphasize the lower part of each oval, like this, and that we use that bottom circle to curve the cat's chin into the rest of the mouth. Now we can go ahead and erase the rest of the oval on the top. Inside a little bit of that triangle for the nose we don't need anymore, and we can erase the circle that was used to build the chin of our cat. So at this point, we have our shapes pretty well figured out, and we have the right shape for each piece of the cat's face. So let's see what other kind of details we can add going forward. Looking a little bit closer, we've got to think about the cat's face shape. It's going to have some lumps and bumps because of the fur around the face. And we want to add in some shoulders for the cat too. So let's see how we can do that. It looks like we can just connect some of the ear lines to the face, smoothing that out, and then we're going to go ahead and smooth it into a body after that. So at this point, I will kind of glide right off my ears, and I'm going to use the side of the cat's face to guide me in how I'll kind of move my pencil back and forth, making some bumps here and there to fill in the cat's face. I might make that go up a little higher. If you guys ever need to erase, that's always okay. To adjust any shapes you need to do. And then over here, I'll do sort of the same thing, going around the outside of the cat's face. And then we can also add part of the body. So when I'm looking at where the body starts, it looks like it goes diagonally down from the corner of the cat's mouth, right over here. We can also see it coming out to the side on the right, that way. And I also don't need the bottom part of the cat's circular face anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and erase that. And erase all of that circle line that we do not need. The cat's ears are attached. The face is fully formed. Go ahead and erase my leftover marks. Get rid of any of those eraser shavings. All right, so we've got a pretty good cat face, fully formed. Now, looking forward, we're going to adjust any remaining detail, add any little tiny marks of texture around the ears, some of that fur you can see, add details to the eyes and around the mouth. So let's go ahead and make sure we get all of that taken care of. Looking up towards the ears, you don't have to worry about making these little squiggle lines perfect because cat's fur is never all that perfect. I'm just going to go right along the line of where the circle used to be and kind of wiggle my pencil up and down, making some uneven lines to fill in some of that fur texture. And then I'll go down to my eyes. And cat's pupils are a little bit different than human eyes. They're not circular, they're more of a V shape. So I'll go ahead and make a nice long V, not forgetting to put in a little highlight circle there along the pupil. I do the same thing on the other eye. This is the toughest part, to try and make sure that the eyes are even and they match. Just try and get the pupil, that nice V shape in the center of each eye. And then we'll kind of go along and add some whiskers. You can add a few dots for where the whiskers will come out from, just in a nice little row, just like that. And then to add the whiskers on, I'm going to quickly flick my pencil out to make a few lines here and there. Cats do have a lot of whiskers, but I'm just going to draw a few of them all around the cat's face. Some out to the side, some going a little bit straight down. And then at that point, I think we have a pretty well finished cat. So let's take a look back on our slide. We've got all of those details filled in. We've erased any lines that we don't need anymore. And we've got a completed cat. I can look back and say that we've captured all the fur texture. We've got those eyes in the right spot, and everything looks like it's in the right place and has the right shape. So thanks for exploring shape mapping with me today. It's just one of the many techniques you can use to strengthen your drawing skills. From drawing and painting to digital art and clay, yes, even clay, we offer a wide range of weekly classes year-round. So no matter what your interest is, I hope to see you in a class or two very soon. For more info and to enroll, visit museoart.com today.